Craig Wright. The trial is still going on in Miami. If you don't know who Craig Wright is, he is best known for his longstanding and widely disputed claims to be Satoshi Nakamoto, the pseudonymous creator of Bitcoin. And he is currently being sued in a civil suit by the estate of Dave Kleiman, his former best friend and supposed business partner, who his estate claims that Craig owes the estate a whole bunch of Bitcoin based on past business dealings between him and Dave. It's all very complicated. And what we have had over the last few days is Craig Wright on the stand giving his version of events. And I'm definitely choosing the word version. So one of the things that came out of yesterday and the day before from his testimony is the idea that the Bitcoins in question are being conflated. 3 separate piles of Bitcoins are being conflated. And what he is saying is that there are 3 different groups. So there's 1 million Bitcoins that he mined alone as Satoshi, that Dave, his former business partner, independently mined approximately 1 million testnet Bitcoins. So not real Bitcoin. So the Bitcoins that his estate thinks they own are actually testnet Bitcoins. Now, a testnet is a sort of an alternate reality version, if you like, of the main net. So anything that happens on a testnet, it's just for practice. It's not real Bitcoins. You can't trade them and use them. There was some way back, some people did try trading testnet Bitcoins and that got scrapped. But no, testnet Bitcoins are not worth anything. And then he also says that he purchased 1.1 million Bitcoins for the Tulip Trust, which is a trust that even that is under some scrutiny as to whether that actually was a thing. So really, there are 3.1 million Bitcoins that are up for grabs, but not really. And yeah, it's really, really confusing. So that's what has come out of it. His testimony should wrap up today. Well, it may continue next week, but they're actually going to be putting everything on pause till Monday, holidays and various things happening. But there's one thing that I really want to point out here. The prosecution, or the plaintiff rather, hasn't called in an expert in blockchain forensic analysis yet. And I don't think that it doesn't look as if they're going to, judging by the witness list that's on record. So there hasn't really been anybody who has gone in and laid out the case for tracing the origin and movements of any of the coins in questions, or to give any testimony on the possible ownership of the wallets that may or may not be holding these real or fake Bitcoins. So I don't understand that myself. Naomi, do you want to give it a crack?
I think this case is hilarious because I was wondering how Craig was going to backflip out of some recent findings that came out. So essentially, some of the addresses that he put forward, a bunch of them have been disputed. Like, he put forward a bunch of addresses in, like, when you have to give your preliminary evidence for this case. And then some of them, people actually signed a message using the private key attached to those addresses to say these are not owned by Craig Wright. But then some people also traced some of the funds to stolen Mt. Gox money. So some hacker. And then so basically it meant that if Craig owned this money, then he was a hacker. Now, keep in mind that the reason he was putting forward these addresses is because they're like early Bitcoins that were considered like the first few blocks. And he was saying, yeah, I mined these because Satoshi mined blocks in the early days. Now he's backflipped and said that he's explained away this Russian hacked Bitcoin because he purchased those ones. And also that slew of emails and messages that we also provided in the preliminary evidence that all says that Kleiman and I put together that we had this joint mining venture. No. All of that was fraudulent. I have been hacked. My email is often hacked, and all of that was incorrect. Also, I have autism, and autism means that I can explain away any fraudulent statements I make, anything that's contradictory, if things just don't fit together. It's because of my autism and not because I'm a liar. So he has just done the most amazing mental gymnastics and backflips to get out of this. This is hilarious to watch. And even when he says that, how do you explain that you've been saying that Kleiman is credited with creating Bitcoin? Now he's like, well, he just meant a lot to me, and no one was ever going to remember this man. He means so much to me. Oh my God, it's so rude to them. Like, no one's ever going to remember you. You did nothing important. Like, what a slap in the face to the family of the deceased there. But I would not expect anything less from Craig Wright. But yeah, this whole thing, I mean, it makes me angry, and it's also incredibly amusing, right? But I'm going to throw to Will for your take on all this.
Angry and amusing is the emotion I feel whenever I hear about Craig Wright as well, because it is pretty hilarious. Also, if you're the reporter for CoinDesk on this story, pretty awesome. You get to stay in Miami for a few weeks, so that's pretty sick. Kind of looking at the case right now and where it stands, I'm totally with you, Naomi. It's like, how does he keep coming up with stuff? This testnet Bitcoin is not something I saw coming along the pipeline. I'll confess I've not been following this case as closely as other people, but just like pull out testnet Bitcoin and say that's what has been used. That's pretty hilarious. If you know anything about Bitcoin, just like testnet Bitcoin is just kind of a running joke, and it just makes no sense that was kind of brought up. It's also very easy to prove that that's probably not the case. So I don't understand. Like, it just keeps backpedaling into more lies. That's my 10,000 foot perspective on it. George, I'll give it to you though.
Before I move on to my topic, I just want to say shout out to Cheyenne, who's a CoinDesk reporter, who's doing a thankless job of reporting on this. And I will refrain from saying anything, but it's surprising to me that people think Satoshi would go buy Bitcoins on an exchange.